back, come back.
Well, here's the My East Music Mondays. We are here with our friends, sisters, comadres, comrades in the movement, in la música, en el movimiento, en mucho más, en la lucha de las mujeres de las cafeteras. We are so excited to have you. Hi, y'all.
Hola. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Yes. So excited.
We're super, super happy to have our friends, sisters, the homegirls, and beautiful musicians, singers, jaraneras. There's so much to list on what they do, and we're going to intro them in just a bit with some specific bios. But welcome, everybody. We wanted to do an honoring of land acknowledgement as we do. We are Mujeres de Maíz, a woman of color, art and artivist collective since 1997, bringing you art, wellness, holistic, spirituality, and mucho más. And now, virtually through the World Wide Web, we are live right now on Facebook and our YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe. And we are so, so excited to have Las Mujeres de las Cafeteras. And as we do, as they do, as we all do in a beautiful way, we want to honor those who have come before. So we want to give thanks today for another day of life. We want to give thanks to the ancestors of the land, wherever you are coming from across Turtle Island, across Las Americas, y across el mundo, as we are on the World Wide Web. I am currently coming from the land of the Mexica, Tenochtitlan, but others are coming from, usually Los Angeles, are coming from the Tongva territory, unceded Tongva territory, and all of us come from many different nations. And so we want to honor and give thanks and ask for permission from all those indigenous lands and our ancestors to be here today. In the chat, please, from people who are logging in, you're already saying hello. Let us know where you're coming from, not only the city, but if you know the indigenous territory, please honor and recognize that too. Let us know where you're coming from. We'd love to hear the areas that y'all are coming from. So definitely do that. Again, we are here as part of Music Mondays, Mujeres de Maíz Music Mondays, and a whole month, the Mes de la Mujer, where we're sharing Music Mondays, Writing Wednesdays, Film Fridays, and Sanación Sundays. We have full-packed month full of Mes de la Mujer. And to round it out, we have this beautiful day today where we're going to have some of the mujeres, or those are the mujeres de las cafeteras. And if y'all don't know las cafeteras, you got to know already. You got to get with the times. And it is time, and I know there's actually like one of the albums, right? It's called It Is Time. So Las Cafeteras have taken the music scene by storm with their infectious live performance and have crossed genre and musical borders. Their electric sound and energy has taken them from world-playing shows from the Bonnaroo to the Hollywood Bowl, from WOMAD, New Zealand to Montreal Jazz and beyond. And today we have them here on our beautiful Mujeres de Maíz channel on Facebook and YouTube. Born and raised in east of the Los Angeles River, Las Cafeteras are remixing roots music and telling modern day stories. They create a vibrant musical fusion with unique East LA sounds and positive messages. The Afro-Cuban beats, rhythms, and rhymes deliver inspiring lyrics that document stories of a community seeking love and justice in the concrete jungle of Los Angeles. They do use traditional son jarocho instruments like the jarana and others, but also sing in English, Spanish, and Spanglish. We know that well here on this canal, and add a remix of sounds from rock to hip hop to rancheras. I'm sure many of you have heard Las Cafeteras before, and if not, you'll be able to hear from the Mujeres of las Cafeteras today, some of the insights, information, or just scoop about who they are, what they do, and also we'll get to see some of the music videos. So if you haven't listened yet, LA Times describes them as the uniquely Angelino mishmash of punk, hip-hop, beat music, cumbia, and rock.
Wow.
Live. In live, they're magnetic. So let's welcome otra vez las Mujeres de Cafeteras. We're already getting a lot of love.
We sound great.
Wow, right? You're like, do I know them? I want to know them.
Amazing. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, she's does us. I love it. So we're already hearing some love. People are saying they're from East LA. They're coming from different areas, Mar Vista, Temple City, Tongva. They say goddesses are in the house. So we love to kind of look at chat. I think y'all can see it too, but some of the love that's happening from there. You're getting a lot of love already from the community and from what, from your, the community overall. So I wanted to introduce you individually a little bit. So maybe we can first kind of give, we have your bios, but as a sometimes performer artist, I know Claudia and I have been sharing for 20 years sometimes on the stage, and it's like you hear it and I'm always like, when we say it, I'm like, is that me? When you share it. But I think it's really key because especially as mujeres, it's important to know all our sides to what we do, who we are. Sometimes we hear one-sided or they just see you on stage, but you're so much more, and you're so, well-rounded, right? Very many, a lot of things that y'all are doing. So I'm gonna start with Denise, and we can have our little shoot Zoom or things like that so we can really see our beautiful faces. But Denise Carlos grew up in Huntington Park, HP, neighborhood of Southeast LA with her oldest sister and parents. She grew up, her father is from Mexicali and Amecua. Oh, I've been there. I love that. Jalisco. And her mother from Amecua, Jalisco, and immigrated to the US in the 1970s. Speaking mostly in double entendre, she is known for her silly humor and comedic nature. Denise, this is how I met Denise, holds a master's degree in clinical social work with an emphasis on women and children from Loyola University in Chicago, and works on the daily to help develop critical thought around community feminisms, sexuality, and self-love. She has been dancing folklorico for over half her life. And when she's not with Las Cafeteras, you'll find Denise zapateando with Ballet Folklorico de Los Angeles. And I really want to share these. Two of Denise's favorite life teachings are Que Viva la Vida and Dance as If Nobody is Watching. Let's welcome Denise Carlos.
Woo! Thank you, Lisa. Super nice to see you. I haven't seen you in months. Months.
Yeah, the pandemic has changed all of our lives in many ways. But I think, I think virtually, we haven't really done too many Zooms. I think maybe with our mutual friend Mishpe, whose birthday is today.
Happy birthday, Mishpe! Shout out to Mishpe!
We're having a cafetera party for you.
Yeah.
One of the things is of sisterhood, right? Really seeing your work before, whether at universities or in the community or through sharing Zumba. Folklorico has always been with women in the forefront. So it's really beautiful. And we're so thankful to have you today, along with our compañera from Las Cafeteras, Leah. ¿Cómo está, Leah? How are you? I'm going to do your official intro a little bit. Leah Rose Gallegos, and this is, I think, how I met you, was born in Highland Park, Northeast LA. Another HP, y'all both from HPs, but different HPs.
Yeah, we battle it out all the time.
Right? I also both HPs. She graduated from USC on a full soccer scholarship where she studied Chicano studies. Woo. Upon an invitation to the U.S. Women's National Team, she tore ACL, cutting her soccer career short. But her next projects and a lot of her projects were in the community. Along with Lauren Juan Madrid, co-founded People's Yoga, where she was really helping to connect with her yoga. And I've been there in a beautiful place. I know now we can't officially get there, but in person, but People's Yoga is an amazing community treasure. Leah found music by ceremony, learning song from curanderas, and she later took son jarocho classes at Tia Chucha Centro Cultural with her family in the San Fernando Valley of California. Leah is a proud vegan, lover of food and family, and always carries a bottle of rosemary or lavender essential oil for quick limpias on the go. Yes, love that. Hola, buenas noches, tardes. Leah, ¿cómo está? Good to have you.
Hi, good to be here. Thank you, Faye. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Claudia. Mujeres de Maíz. Ciao.
I love that mix of both of your bios. Also, it's like that other little part that maybe people don't see on stage so much, which is like, the little limpias on the go that you're sharing in that bio, the essential oil. I remember that because having taken classes with you and you like offering that, but somebody on the other side of the world, maybe in Australia where they've seen you perform, might not. I don't know if you share, some of that oftentimes. So I love both of that, to get to know a little bit both about you. So I'm glad we shared it. Again, welcome everybody. If you have questions, I know the chat is bumping right here. There people are saying soccer, gymnastics. They like, connecting with you in other ways other than the música, which is beautiful and a little bit of what we wanted to do today, right? Like personalize and humanize and mujeres who we are as performers and who y'all are. So Again, in the audience and in the chat, let us know who y'all are, where you're coming from. If you have some questions, we might be able to get to some questions for the Mujeres de Cafeteras. So the first question we kind of have for y'all, and you can share a little bit about yourself through this too, was what was maybe one of your first interactions with Mujeres de Maíz? And a lot of times, how did you first hear Mujeres de Maíz? And this usually will sometimes give a story of who you are anyways, right? Some of the background or younger. So feel free to share or fill in on some of the bio that you feel like maybe didn't get, that I didn't share enough of or doesn't fully represent you. So either of you can, maybe Leah, would you want to go first?
Yeah, let's do this. Thank you, Faye. Hello, everybody. It's so good to be here. Let's see. I think, just the rosemary. Let me start off with the rosemary because I'm getting all shy right now. So let me talk about rosemary first.
We got
I remember, thank you. It's because my face got all big all of a sudden. Nobody's here with me. One of my tias, or two of my tias actually, which was kind of my introduction to medicine and wellness and curanderismo, was right after soccer. I had spent most of my life, since 5 years old to 20 something, playing soccer, because at 5 I was really good at soccer, and in AYSO I would school everyone. I would just dribble from the goalie and score 5 goals, and then the coaches and all the referees would make me play goalie because I was scoring too much. So I spent most of my life playing soccer, and I was really good, and that was the only thing I cared about. It was my medicine. It made me feel good and at peace. And it just filled me with so much joy. And because I was really good at it, it was my only game plan. I was going to be a professional soccer player. That was that. And it was working out. I got a full ride to go to play in college, and then was invited to try out for the U.S. national team. And then shortly after, tore my ACL. And so that was devastating, because what was I going to do? Soccer was my plan A, my plan B, my plan C. But in that devastation, 2 of my tias invited me to Mexico for this curandera intensive with Estela Roman, who you know as well. And that completely shifted my journey, and really opened me up to a bunch of other curanderas that I would later work with. And not too long after returning from Mexico, I met another woman called, her name was Guadalupe, and I was learning song with her. And this was my first introduction to song. I didn't grow up, well, besides singing in the shower, I didn't grow up playing music. I didn't grow up singing. I secretly wanted to be Mariah Carey, but I only sung in the shower. And so my work with Guadalupe and with other women curanderas sharing song was really instrumental in being a musician, which I'll talk about later. But anyways, my introduction to Mujeres de Maíz, it kind of all came, it's a little bit blended. I don't have a very specific moment, but there was one year, and it was actually the year when I came back from Mexico, and I was coming back from Mexico, I was like, what do? I just want to go to Mexico and work with these women, and what am I going to do in LA? I was like, just take me back. How do I get back? And it was that year that I met the group that would later become Cafeteras. I saw Mujeres de Maíz singing at one of the Dia de los Muertos events. I was introduced to the Eastside Cafe, the Achuchas. And so it was that year that I was kind of surrounded by community, including Mujeres de Maíz. And that made me feel the feeling I had when I was in Mexico, and the feeling that I wanted to go back to. That was the feeling I got from all of these community centers surrounding me and welcoming me home. All in there.
I mean, definitely. I think what you're sharing a little bit about is the sisterhood, this circle, this community that is built, and that you searched for or found, right, through Maestras de la Roman and others, and then also found through cultural centers, and then, you know, through not only Mujeres de Maíz, but Cafeteras and others. Denise, we would love, I mean, it might be a little bit similar, but we would love to hear a little bit about how you first came to connect with Mujeres de Maíz. And of course, I know it'll bring us to a story of beautiful art and music, etc. And probably another similar cultural center, I'm sure.
You know, I was thinking about it, and I think the first time I was in a Mujeres de Maíz space, I think I was in high school, which is like in the late 90s. I have an older sister. She's 5 years older than me. She was way cooler, way more down, way more artistic than I was. And there was a point where she would start inviting me to events. You know, she would invite me to marches and protests. And she would invite me also to like community events. And one of them was Mujeres de Maíz. And, you know, when I was a 15-year-old, I started dancing folklorico to get out of PE. But I went to school in Bravo Heights. I went to Bravo Medical. And dance, you know, dance was the way that I reconciliated my relationship with my body and started healing trauma in my body. But ever since I was young, my sister really was the one who offered to bring me into spaces where mujeres were being expressive, where mujeres were being like medicine to each other, and chisme and comadreando was a good thing. You know, and I think it was the first time that I witnessed community, right? And specifically mujeres in community and mujeres in medicinal partnership. And then I went to Casa de LA, and, you know, Casa de LA is like by City Terrace and El Sereno, and everybody was involved in a whole lot of things. And so Mujeres de Maíz became just something that was part of like your backyard, like medicine, you know, and you run into everybody. And back in the day, you know, social media didn't exist. So like flyers and just like door to door and go to meetings. And I'm going to say the M word. I was in Mecha. Yes. I don't know what it's called now, but it was called Mecha back in the day. And that was really like the portal into like community work, right? And getting involved and being one of the co-founders of the Eastside Cafe, which is where we started learning Son Jarocho. It was just, you know, this invitation of utilizing like artistic expression as medicine, and just like as a way to announce and like state like I am here and I'm alive and I exist and this is my story. And you know, young Denise, teenager Denise, who always wanted to disappear and never wanted to be seen. And this was a way like I saw in my community mujeres really standing up and claiming space and reclaiming sisterhood in a powerful way, and you know, like even like this whole chingona vibe, and saying, you know, like we are all the things, we're all the positives, all the negatives, all the attributes, and all the traumas, and all of it fits and has campo here, right? And I think this is one of my like most favorite things of like doing community work is that I am a community member, and I'm never here to heal anybody. I'm here to be healed within and amongst my community members. So this is what music has done for me. This is what dancing has done, and specifically being in community, in comunidad, and in ceremony with mujeres. And in connection with Mujeres de Maíz, you know, and Felicia, like you and I have been in different circles together, doing organizing work, but also doing healing and artistic work together. And so, yeah, it's like, I can't imagine my life being here from the east side of LA and not have these, I mean, I feel like it's not just like a resource, but it's like family, right? Having these family elements who have really like pushed me and guided me to where I am now.
Wow, it's so beautiful to hear. Super beautiful to hear. You know, we're coming up on 24 years. This is 24 years of Mujeres de Maíz. What started just similar to many of how you all perhaps started is sharing wanting to share some of your experiences, sharing some of your words, sharing some of your thoughts, sharing some of your cantos, whether it was first started in the shower or through ceremonial songs, and then being able to connect more through other ways and learning from maestras and maestros, maestrix, to be able to share more. So it's so beautiful to hear that. And we really feel like it's a family, sometimes people are like, oh, in La Quechua, Mujeres de Maíz, we're no longer together, or a group you hear is like no longer together or breaks up, and we're like, we see it as a prayer, we see it as this other type of thing. And so it's beautiful to hear that you also felt the community and sisterhood, or it felt like this, the backyard thing was really, really cool, or a good thought about overall. And that's a little bit about what we want to ask you a little bit more, how you connected to music. And I know you've shared a little bit, both of you, about how you connected to music, or what made you become, or how you became a musician. What was your journey to where you are now? And both of you have shared a little bit about that already, but maybe specifically to Cafeteras, right? Like, and you shared a little bit, but Leah, would you want to share a little bit so y'all can have a little break in the breathing time and listen to each other? We'd love to hear a little bit about how you shared, but a little bit deeper, and then maybe specific to coming to Cafeteras. You're unmuted. Let us unmute, or you.
Got it.
Hear you. We gotta hear you.
The good old mute button.
Yeah, exactly.
Putting me to work. So yeah, I grew up playing soccer, going back to that, but secretly, like that shower singing was like my secret deep down dream. I wanted to be I wanted to be a dancer, but I didn't think I had a chance. Singing, I was like, I think if I just try hard enough, there might be a chance. But never thought, I would have a microphone in front of me. And when I was introduced to Guadalupe and started to learn song with her and with my family as well, it just became a real medicinal practice to me and to my family. And it was a way that we could sort of collect and gather our practices from our lineage. My father's Apache and Yaqui Tarahumara, but grew up very disconnected from any traditions or practices. And so it was a way for my family to kind of collect and gather song and traditions and utilize them within our family. And I remember when I was learning to sing, the Guadalupe mentioned to all of us learning that singing was a medicine, that the voice is a medicine. Even backing up to my time working with Estela Roman, where I learned that everyone is a curandera, everyone is a healer, and everyone has a medicine. And so as I'm learning to utilize my voice, the way I was taught to utilize my voice is to offer it, to treat it like a medicine, to treat it like an offering. And I think, later on when I met the group that would later become Cafeteras, I never expected, again, that we would have a mic, or that we would be on a stage, or that we would have an audience. And so when we did have a mic, my background in learning song was able to be put to use. And at this point, Cafeteras has traveled the country and has had the opportunity to sing beyond the country, and sing in local community centers, similar to Tia Chucha's and the Eastside Cafe, doing work on the ground to support their communities, to bigger venues, performing arts theaters, or performing arts venues. And so Cafeteras I was able to connect the dots, like to use my voice as a medicine, as an offering, as a way to hopefully, the same way the rosemary was offered to me, that the voice could also be like the rosemary. And Cafeteras became a way where we could tell our stories. Initially, we tried to sort of mimic son jarocho, and that didn't really work out for us. And there was a point whoops, can you see me? There I am. There's a point in Las Cafeteras journey where we started to just tell the stories of our families, tell the stories of how we grew up and what we're seeing in our world and what we want to see in our world as well.
Beautiful.
Hit it, Denise.
Yes, tell us. That's beautiful.
Tell me more.
I know. I feel like I'm even learning. Like I've seen you all throughout this journey. I think, you know, whether from afar or on social media or within the universities or cultural centers, we've all seen each other kind of create or grow or perform. So, but I'm learning stuff today too. I don't think I knew the in depth about your soccer geniuses, your soccer proness. I knew, but not to that level. So I'm even learning a little bit more. And Denise, I think, you know, I feel through the university settings, because we've been in those areas together a little bit more, that we're also sharing. So I knew your background, but how did you connect more to music in las cafeteras overall, from folclórico to where you are now?
Yeah. It's interesting because for such a long time, you know, I just was like, I'm a folklorista, I'm a dancer. I studied clinical social work. So I was very much in, you know, I had carved out a space for myself in the world that included only folklorico, and it included me doing mental health work and doing like, you know, Chicanx inspired like power work, right? Creating powerful spaces for people like me. And music was, you know, I always say like cafeteras are not supposed to be where we're at. You know, that wasn't the plan for people like us. And it's interesting when I revisit that thought, because then I'm in a place now where I say, why not? Like, why was I so conditioned to think that people like us couldn't travel the world sharing our stories, right? Couldn't utilize, like, I always say, like, we're super rascuache, you know, or scrappy, which is we take the gifts that have been offered to us, and we've made something that's been a beautiful, like Leah said, offering from us to the world. And I think that was a way that I was able to understand that it's bigger than the music, right? That I didn't start playing music until I was, you know, after grad school. I was in my early 20s, and it was a hobby, and it was just a way to feel good, right? When you were part of the Eastside Cafe, I don't know if now, but back in the day, when you were at the Eastside Cafe, you would basically live there, and we took all the classes, and we supported every event. And Son Jarocho was one of those things. And, you know, people ask, like, you know, why Son Jarocho? And it's because it was available. I never went to school to play music. I never learned from anyone but my friends. And it wasn't then until I started singing, right, out loud. I grew up very, very shy. I sang only like on Saturdays cuando it was either Juan Gabriel or Rocío Dúrcal, and that meant we were cleaning that day or outside doing the, you know, the lawn, and it was rancheras with my dad. But it was never, you know, I could never have imagined that me like opening my voice and letting my voice do the talking and my feet do the talking, that it would get me to where I am now in terms of music being a career. You know, it's really simple, and I think it's very surprising that all we've done is really give ourselves a chance. And I think what people are drawn to is the playful and like childlike spirit we have when music takes over. And I always say, you know, I feel like somebody else takes over when I'm singing and dancing, and you know, I don't know. I think it might be like an ancestral, like, resurgence of spirit, you know, because I definitely feel that. I definitely feel like there's a power to the music, and it's not necessarily about touring and being popular and being famous, but I think that there's a big lesson in the connections we've been able to make with people all over the country that have felt silenced or marginalized, feeling powerful and joyful, and just, you know, like we're family. Like everywhere we've gone in this country and outside of this country, where we're able to play and share music, we're able to make connections that are really humbling and that are really beautiful, you know, and I've come to believe that it's not just about the protest and the resistance, that we're not a protest or a political band, but that when a politic is imposed on people like us who are brown, who are poor, who, you know, are from immigrant families, when we start to speak up and be joyful and be happy and make demands and get educated, that becomes, you know, radical in itself. And so it can be very simple, but all we do, I always say, like, we're super rascuache and scrappy, and we've taken what we have and we've been able to honor our own stories and our own communities and make something beautiful out of it. And we'll see, you know, it's always, the journey hasn't ended. And I think, like, we're all still like andando y preguntando y entendiendo, right? We're kind of just all learning, and we're trying to figure it out. I don't know if I answered the question or if there wasn't a question. I gave you all a chisme.
And that's what we're here for. Hey, we're chicanas, conciencia, cultura, y por favor, y por supuesto, chisme. Más que nada comadrear, ¿no? Conciencia, right? Like learning a little bit. And then, of course, when I say chisme, I mean like hearing the stories, the experiences that y'all are sharing, like the stuff that we don't hear maybe that you share on stage or through every album, although you are offering, and I love that both of you are talking about it as an ofrenda, right? Almost as offering that you share. And then people are connecting, right? Some Prieta Denver saying that she also liked the folklorico, or other people were talking about their soccer players. They're connecting with you in your other selves. Tus otros yos, no? Your in la catch, your other yous, and the other things that you do. And so I think that's such a key part of some of your music and the words and the concepts that come, whether it's Luna Lovers, La Morena. And I know right now we're hoping to hear or see one of the videos. La Morena, did one of you, I believe, want to introduce it, por favor? I know. I love it. We're like on the, what is it? The Brady Bunch Zoom, although this isn't Zoom, but that person. Leah?
I'll do it.
Awesome.
La Morena is a very special song, especially to Denise and myself. We wrote it together, and La Morena is also a traditional son jarocho song. And we started talking about what is La Morena, what's our interpretation of La Morena, and one of the interpretations we felt like La Morena represented was the earth, this brown, beautiful earth. And going back to my encounters with curanderas, one of the first songs that I learned was La tierra es mi cuerpo, el agua es mi sangre, el viento es mi aliento, el fuego es mi espíritu. And so that kind of was the beginning of writing our interpretation of this traditional son jarocho song called La Morena, and to really embrace our connections as women, our connections as brown women, women of color, our connections with the earth, and to celebrate those connections as well. So without further ado, drum roll.
Done.
La Morena.
Yes, we have a little technical, we have to, I think Cloud needs to come back in and then share the screen. But we're excited to
my drum roll.
We're excited to see this. Yes.
Drum roll.
Let's hear this beautiful song.
The earth is my body, water is my blood, wind is my breath, fire is my spirit. Morenita, rezando estoy, rezando a usted. Cuando escucho a la morena, me dan ganas de llorar. Cuando escucho a la morena, me dan ganas de llorar. El río de esperanza y la dejaron secar. El río de esperanza y la qué culpa iba a tener. Besando con su ternura me dio fuerza su poder. Besando con su ternura me dio fuerza su poder. No le di de mi querer y se me murió de sed. Ay, morena que se te murió de sed. Como la tierra mi cuerpo, agua que corre mi sangre, mi canción vuela subiendo, ganando fuerza calle, mi espíritu es vivienda, y yo te doy madre, a la morena.
Woo! Hey.
Wow. Awesome.
Beautiful. Love it. I hadn't seen that. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? I know that's not officially in our question, but dime más. I was like, where'd that come from? That seems new.
Mm.
Is it new? I think it's just like on the down.
Is it a pandemic project? I'm sorry.
It kind of is, girl, because so that song is, I think, was on our last album. It's one of our favorite songs, one of the first songs we learned that was traditional San Jarocho music. But again, like Leah was saying, we were really trying to like equate it to like the elements, the energies, Morena being like Mother Earth. But we've actually had to do a lot of kind of like quarantine style videos to sub out any in-person like concerts, right? And so
Yes.
I've seen Leah, I think, twice this year, like in person. And I think that was one of the times, right? We were working on this Mujer Soy, like hour-long project, talking about the work, and taking our favorite stories that had a connection with Mujeres, and La Morena was one of them. But I think specifically, like writing our own verses to these traditional sones is one of the things that, like one of my favorite things, right? And this one was in Spanish, and I mean, Spanish was my first language, but my primary language is Spanglish. And so it's always a very interesting, project to write your thoughts and your beings and like your wishes for the world in a language that, you don't primarily communicate in. But that one, again, is more of an offering to the mujeres in our lives, to Madre Tierra, and to understand, as Leah says, that we're all connected through the earth, and we come from a woman and we will go back into Madre Tierra. And so, our music, though, it doesn't go necessarily like very traditional anymore. Like we are a mismatch of all kinds of things. And a lot of it has become, there's a lot of chanting, a lot of hip hop, a lot of cumbia. And we decided that we didn't have to choose one way to represent ourselves and one way to exist in the world. And so you'll see Morena as it is there, but it's not representative like how we necessarily show up artistically, right? But it is an homage to how we started learning the music, for sure. No se oye, girl.
You're muted.
That's what they say is like the dicho of 2020 was you're
Right.
muted.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all have to do it at least once. I think every person's kind of like a good luck thing. Suertazo. Pero sí, I think that's really important, like a little bit of what y'all share, right? That tradition, and then also, coming from tradition and corazón y cultura, pero también somos de muchas diferentes ondas, somos de muchas diferentes raíces. We come from a lot of different roots and understandings and musical tastes and connections. Like my parents, growing, listening to Motown, but then also rancheras, right? And so that mix is really key from us overall. And it shows a lot about who we are, who we connect and how we connect. And I think one of the other songs that's coming up that we would love to hear, and we'll hear in a little bit right before I ask this question, is an example of that, right? Like that remix version of already you all do like in-person remix because of who you are and just how your ears and sounds and what you like, but also other people deciding to do remixing or connecting with other groups to do remixes of your music. Really what one of the things we'd love to hear, and we always talk about with Mujeres de Maíz, is those who have come before or those who have inspired us. From our very first show in 1997, we honored veteranas of the movement. We gave homage to those from the 60s and 70s, the Chicana, Black, queer, feminist, and Asian American, Native American foremothers who allowed us, gave blood, sweat, and tears for us to even be here today, to be able to share this music, to share the poems, to share the events that we do through Mujeres de Maíz and you all as Las Cafeteras. And so for us, it was really key to think about who came before, right? Or who are some of the people that have inspired you? Who are some women musicians, writers, or poets that have inspired you or your career or your work as Las Cafeteras? And either of you, if you want to join in and share.
All right, I think
feel free.
Leah and I share our love for Lauryn Hill, for sure, right? That's one of the people. I know that you mentioned Mariah Carey,
Right.
but Lauryn Hill, I think one of my favorite things is that she shows up unapologetically. She is who she is. And like, there's so much critique around her, but I think my favorite thing is she shows up like very authentically. And she showed me I can mess up and I could be a human being on a stage and it's cool. My voice can crack. I can be tired and have ojeras and do my thing and still be inspiring. But I think Lauryn Hill for sure, Chavela Vargas, queer ranchera singer. And I don't know, like there's just so many people. My mom, my sister, how about you, Leah?
Lauryn Hill for sure. Of course, I grew up listening to the Fugees and was a big fan of the Fugees. But as soon as it wasn't until she did the Unplugged on MTV that I was like, oh, I don't cuss, but damn, that's like a medium cuss word. Because she showed up so raw and honest, and I had never seen that in a musician of that caliber. And that was really eye-opening to me, and really truthful. And especially as a musician now, to have that example that you can show up and you can be a human being. You're not just a puppeteer, like you can be all aspects of yourself in any given space at any given moment. And in her Unplugged performance, she really did bring all of the layers of her life with her. And I think, like throughout my fanning of her, I've heard a lot of like, oh, she said this, or she didn't show up here, or she didn't do that. And to me, it's like, as a musician now and knowing a little bit about the industry, like I could totally understand how you could not show up to a show, or how you can, like speak your mind, because the industry is really tough, especially for women. And I did get a chance to see her at the Hollywood Bowl too. And she, oh my gosh, she is like orchestrating a live, it seems in like impromptu. She's amazing. So my like performance, whatever performances I've ever needed to see, have been fulfilled. But definitely people in the community as well, family members, the curanderas that taught me song in the first place, Natalia Laforcade. And then I grew up, my mom listened to a lot of Santana, Gypsy Kings, Quetzal. So a lot of my upbringing was pretty mixed mashed as well.
Beautiful. Yes, I think that's one of the examples of like Chicanidad or La Mezcla, right? The mix. that many of us grow up in, whether being migrants ourselves or coming from migrant parents, or even just because, city and rancho life, or, being able, all those different kind of mixes that happen and mezcla. So we would love to see one of the upcoming videos that we're going to have. And I know our compañera is going to share a little bit after about the film and creations that we're also hoping to create, and why we're doing a lot of this Mes de la Mujer. I mean, we've always done it for 23 or 4 years, but we're looking to fundraise for one of our, a documentary that Claudia is going to mention in a little bit. But before that, okay, I'm wondering if you can introduce the video, Mujer Soy. Mujer Soy is a remix, right? And I love this. We actually share it in my CLS 1500 class. which is the Ethnic Studies 101. It's an Ethnic Studies 101 class, and we talk about it in the week of critical race theory, where we're talking about counter narratives, right? About people showing the different story, the story that's not often heard, and intersectionality, right? Also, when I like share this video. And so if you can share a little bit about it or intro it, and I know our amazing producer, documentarian is getting that video ready. So let us know about Mujer Soy.
I love intersectionality. I love it. I love talking about it. I love understanding it. So I love that you're showing this video when you're talking about intersectionality. So a lot of folks don't know that Las Cafeteras, part of our work is doing concerts and making music, but most of our work is doing work as teaching artists all over the country. When we're on tour, we usually take a week long visiting classrooms, universities. Sometimes we go visit, labor unions. We go to community centers. We go to prisons sometimes, detention centers, and we, estamos en comunidad también, like learning about folks and learning and teaching from each other. One of the main things that we talk about is re-envisioning and reimagining our narratives to confront and oppose and explore the mainstream narrative of communities of color. And usually we talk about the east side of LA. Most people have heard of it. There's a lot of stereotypes and stories that people have connected to the places I'm from, and Leah's from, and Las Cafeteras are from. And so we understand that the music and the touring is also part of an opportunity and a duty for us to show up on our own terms and create works and art that tells stories that have been silenced and marginalized. Mujer Soy, the remix, is a remix of an original song called Mujer Soy, giving homage to many women that I've met throughout my life. And so the story that's told in this video highlights Marianne Aguirre, who is a very community-minded activist and mama and DJ now. She's like a Jane of many, many trades. But, when we talked about doing this, and this is, a few years old, we asked Marianne to tell the stories that people didn't know on her own terms. And so this is the story that Marianne wanted to share with Mujer Soy, the remix.
Uh-oh. It looks like our creative director got kicked out real quick, but of the stream. And I think, sharing a little bit about of the song overall. I mean, that we can share a little bit more about it, and we'll get it back to connected to us in just a bit. I know I can also share it in just a bit. So, I mean, again, when I'm sharing that, it's just on some other level in terms of when people are hearing it, how people hear it, what people think about it and create in terms of it, and what the story tells. I think it's really shares a lot of information. So let me see if I can go ahead and get, so she's not on right now. Just 1 second. All right. So I believe I know it's showing like everything. Gotcha. Y'all aren't seeing it yet, huh?
We're having a dance party over
We're
here.
already like, yes. Mix this. We're gonna try that one more time. You know how we're high-tech Aztecs and Toltecs, but you know, things happen. Wi-Fi happens.
We need a millennial in the house.
I know. Yeah, we're usually really pretty good.
Are we?
I mean, I feel like,
millennials?
but you know, things happen. So let's see. All right, here we go. I'm gonna share the screen. Dun, dun, dun. All right, I'm already like listening to the song. Like, yes. Okay, here we go. Un momentito. Ándale. Y'all can see it full? I'm gonna like remix right here and go bam.
I know. I was like,
Sorry about the little techness, Toltec-y. You know, I was at the pyramides of the Toltecs last weekend for spring equinox, and I guess they didn't like rub off on me that we still have, you know, it's still real life, real. Thank you so much. What beautiful music, Mujeres. And we're all like, hey. Tell us a little bit more about some of the work coming up. I know we need to wrap up, and we'll wrap up our time with you all, and then we'll share a little bit more about what's coming up with Mujeres en Maíz in a little bit. But tell us a little bit more about what's happening with Las Cafeteras, how we can connect with you, social media wise, or anything anything you'd like to share to wrap up.
Woo. We are barely getting back to it. We've been doing a lot of presentations and conversations online, getting the vote out, making sure people have access to the vaccine. So a lot of work on that end, but we are recording now that most of us are vaccinated and we're good. We're getting back into the studio. So we're doing a lot of, I think for us, it's a lot about love and celebration. So very festive music coming up, very emo. There's, you know, the guys are starting to write some like stuff about their crushes. And I'm like, tell me more. Yeah, they're getting a little emo. So we have that. We have a blend of festividad and a blend of amor. I personally am doing some work around somatic healing. So how stories and trauma is, you know, our bodies are talking to us. And so I've gone from studying the mind and cognition and how we process into how our bodies are teaching us, and how we have to listen to our bodies. So that's what I'm working on. And I know Leah is a working mama who's a studio owner and just carving out spaces of healing and resilience for community. Right, Leah?
That's right. People's Yoga is going strong virtually. We're not in person. We've been shut since March, whatever, sometime in March. But we transitioned virtually. We have live streaming classes and on demand. So on demand is kind of like Netflix. You can watch it whenever you want. And there's just a library of all kinds of classes. There's a, you know, for example, a class to relieve lower back pain, or a class to just chill out and go mimis. So there's a class for everybody. And then I'm also working kind of like an extension of Las Cafeteras. I started a project called Tia Leah's Neighborhood. And that's, you know, it's a small little seed right now, but watch out, world, because I'm watering it right now.
I hadn't like added or yesterday, the day before, I was like, oh, hey. I was really appreciating our little ones.
All the quarantine babies that are coming out. We have content.
It makes so much sense. We need content in different languages, different ages, different communities, different culturas, right? Why not? And what a beautiful person to share that, and to share that in that way. And it makes sense as a mom, and so many other different reasons, right? Thank you so much, y'all. You know, how can other ways that we've just followed with the Las Cafeteras Instagram, and what else, anything else you want to share that just so that people can connect? I think what people in the chat already are fully connected with you, I think, but if anybody sees this, because, you know, it was an assignment from their profe, or for some reason they just happen upon it on Facebook right now, like anything you'd like to share with that before y'all head out?
Well, we're not that modern, so we're like on Instagram and Facebook and MySpace. Just kidding, not MySpace. Spotify, iTunes.
Probably Instagram. Instagram's the most active for Las Cafeteras,
for sure.
And People's Yoga, and Denise Carlos and Leah Gallegos.
Perfect. So we are putting them right now, some of those, and then we will definitely in the overall resumen on both Facebook and YouTube put all the Instagram, so that people can connect with you and follow your beautiful music, your movimiento, and your ofrendas of both canto, but also conciencia y cultura, whether it's folclórico, soccer, the neighborhood for the children, yoga, whatever it is, somatic healing, all the beautiful ofrendas that y'all is sharing. So thank you so much for joining us. For those who are still on, las Mujeres de las Cafeteras are heading out, but we're going to share a little bit more about what's coming up with Mujeres de Maíz, as well as our documentary. So stay tuned and we will connect. Thank you so much, Mujeres.
Yes. Please donate to Mujeres de Maíz, y'all.
Yes, thank you. Muchas gracias. Cuídense mucho. Buenas noches. So as we were saying, we are having a beautiful evening today, and it's so important for us to tell you about some of the different information that we're sharing throughout the next weeks and what we've been doing in the last few weeks, which is a documentary creation of Mujeres de Maíz. We're celebrating 24 years, and we have our beautiful co-founder, documentarian, chingona overall, Claudia Mercado, who's going to share a little bit more about it. Claudia?
Hi. Thank you, Felicia. Hi, everybody. For those of you that are still out there, thank you so much for joining us tonight for another beautiful full moon day after, but fullness of Mujer Energía. And, you know, if you thought this rocked, imagine 24 years of this, because these mujeres, which I'm so grateful that they took some time out of their day to day to be with us and to share with us a little bit about themselves, right? Which is what Mujeres de Maíz is. It's that space. It's that carved out space for us to exist, for us to share our stories, for us to share our visions, our joys, our dreams, our creations, our passions. And so Mujeres de Maíz has been doing that for 24 years. Next year, we'll be celebrating our 25th anniversary, and we hope to be able to have this documentary done, which is the story of Mujeres de Maíz. How did we begin? How has it been able to have lived for this long, being predominantly a grassroots women of color organization, collective of artists, activists, mothers, daughters, teachers, and so, you know, I'm just very grateful that we are taking this year to focus on the documentary and try working towards raising these funds. So if you are out there and can donate, any amount is welcome. No amount is too small or too big. And if that's not within your means, please share the word. Share the word with those that can, because we need your help. We need your assistance so that we could share this story, the story of Mujeres de Maíz, the story of women carving out space for sisterhood, for having that backyard medicina that Denise described, right? A space for our words to exist, for our palabras and our canciones and our, you know, danzas to give life to others, to inspire, right? And so this is Mujeres de Maíz, and it's time for our story to be told, and it's a time for LA to hear this story, because it is an LA story. And so we have it, and we're going to put it forth, and it's going to happen for next year, celebrating our 25th anniversary of Mujeres making change, Mujeres uniting, Mujeres inspiring other mujeres, and this is what it is. So thank you so much for being here, and for sharing the word and for contributing.
Awesome. Yes, I wanted to everybody to hear from the, you know, from the creator, from the visionary who's going to be creating our documentary, our documentary. We have their snippets of things, but I would love to show the 3-minute. I have it ready. Do you have it ready?
Oh no, go for it.
For YouTube?
Do it. Yeah, I'm having this.
Yeah, so I would love to show our mini, you know, ask, and also showing you a little bit about what Mujeres de Maíz is. I know our Toltec work is working. So on the bottom of the screen, you see the GoFundMe account. You can also just do GoFundMe Mujeres de Maíz. Make sure it's from our documentary. You can go to our website, mujeresdemaiz.com, and also be able to, you'll have all the links right there if you go to our website. It's the very first thing that comes up, mujeresenmais.com. It's in all the chats right now. So click that link or cut and paste it, and you'll see more information. You'll get to see this video. Please repost it. Please share it. As las cafeteras were mentioning, the ofrendas, the conciencia, the cultura, all that is shared thus far is so key to who we are and what we do. So please, please join us in creating this documentary together as we share Las Mujeres de Maíz. Let's see if y'all can see it. Let me know if you can see it okay.
We can't see it yet. We can't see it yet. There we go.
All right, I'm about to press play. Y'all ready?
Thank you for the silence. I'd like you to close your eyes a little bit. Take a breath. And remember why we're all here tonight.
This story begins at the end of the fifth sun, when our diosas, our goddesses, gave breath to their initiations. And the raw corazones of women began to rattle.
Our story begins in 1997 when a powerful group of women came together to educate, empower, and transform themselves and their communities.
Son las mestizas sin fronteras, la chicana con fronteras, la india violada, la activista temida, la visionaria rebelde, la feminista ardiente, la mujer que tiene voz.
The early 90s marked a time of violence and discrimination in California.
Our communities are being ripped apart from the inside out and the outside in.
We quickly realized that what we truly desired was to fill the stage, the walls, screens, and pages with more women voices, beginning with our own stories.
You are the first voice I heard. You are the first song that was sang to me. Women.
I was born and born in the body of Borderland projects of Atzlan. So who do we have here on the old school Bush Hour? My name is Sita. I am Dilo's mother.
They say, hey, that Iranian girl is kind of fresh. We women, regardless of ups and downs, we do whatever we want to do.
Porque a veces el alma necesita de una caricia y un golpe.
Zapateate chicana, hace del cuerpo pedazos, hace del cuerpo pedazos, zapateate chicana.
Zapateate chicana. From the stage to the page, the gallery walls, streets, communities, ceremonies, and many more. We are Mujeres de Maíz, a movement milpa of art and activism, sisterhood, and solidarity. Join us today and donate to our documentary fundraiser through GoFundMe. Thank you. Lasacamati. All right. So that was our beautiful creative connection. Oops, it looks like we have a little bit more audio. Creation and documentary or mini like ask request for GoFundMe. No, again, as Claudia mentioned, no amount is too small or too large. It is tax deductible as we are a nonprofit. We'd love to have this ready for our 25th year celebration, which is in 2022 next year. So please donate today. You see the information right here going along the line. Donate elementary fundraiser today. We are really excited to have you all be a part of it. We do have a couple more programs coming up, which are all free programs, as you see, virtually streaming through these amazing social media platforms and through StreamYard, which is what we're using. But they're free, but if you would go to an event like this or a panel or a workshop, they're usually from $5 to $50. We have our amazing holistic facilitators who are doing Sanación Sundays, filmmakers who are putting their time, editing effort, all their work into it, musicians who usually will pay like at least $10 to $20 each time you hear them, right? Sharing. So whatever you may have, $1 to $100, please donate today. Every little bit helps, and we would really, really appreciate your support. Any words that you want to share, Clau, after seeing the film or just in general?
If you support women, if you support your mother, if you support your sister, this is an opportunity to support all women. Women whose voices throughout history haven't been able to be heard are now being heard. And it's in a time where people are being divided, in a time where there's a lot of confusion. The words, the dreams, the passions, the spirit, the feminine energy is what can bring healing, is what can bring inspiration for the next generations to come, and for all of us to reconnect and get inspired so that we can envision a better world for ourselves and for the next generations to come. So support Mujeres, support our stories, and support Mujeres de Maíz.
Yes. Todos somos Mujeres de Maíz. Muchas gracias for today. We're going to come back, check our mujeresdemaiz.com website for any information regarding some of our upcoming programs. Of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are at like 480. We want up to 1,000 and more subscriptions. Go to our website and make sure that you get notifications and log in or subscribe to our familia, to our círculo, so you know firsthand and the first time when events are coming up. You get first dibs and first information. Do that and we'll connect with mujeresdemaiz.com. Thank you all so much for joining us today on our Women History Month programming in our 24th year of Mujeres de Maíz. Muchas gracias. Que estén bien.
Bye. Good night.